Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Dad Bear DIY. Today we've got a project that is very common if you're a homeowner or even a renter if you're allowed to do this kind of work. But we've got some small holes in some drywall over here at the other property that we're going to try to fix before J Bear gets down. And I wanted to show you the kind of damaged drywall we're looking at, and then I've already started work on one of the other spots, so I'm going to show you what the kind of hole we're looking at fixing, and then we're going to cut over to the work that I've already got in progress. So thank you for checking us out, and let's get started. Alright guys, so this is the kind of damage to drywall we're talking about, and this is very common damage. You can see that the damage to that is pretty symmetrical, which obviously means we've got a doorknob that's been causing an issue. And I actually patched this with a similar, from a similar hole decades ago. And the doorstop got lost, somehow fell off, and that's what we ended up with after I did the repair. But not having done any of this kind of stuff before, you can kind of see what I did. They've got these fiber patches, place over the hole, you know, put the spackle down, and then smooth it out and paint over it. But we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be trying to fix this right. And so this is the kind of hole we're going to be dealing with. Now let's jump over to the one I've already started on. Okay, so this is the other hole we're working on. As you can see, I've already started on this one. Go ahead and get down and show you what we've got here. Now where the other hole was created by a doorknob, this is the piece that I pulled off. And it's kind of mushed in, and what this is from the corner of a recliner getting leaned into or rocked back too far, or in the process of moving it, hit the wall, damaged the drywall. So we wanted to fix this. So this is the piece that I cut out. And you can kind of get an idea of what the plan is here. A nice square cut. This is not completely square. I kind of eyeballed this, but and we're not going to be eyeballing it with the other one. I brought the tools I needed to do it, but what the plan is here is to cut out a piece of drywall that is almost the same size, fit it in, and then secure it. So I wasn't using a stud finder, but I was fortunate enough to cut the patch out. It actually centered on a stud. In fact, there's a nail right here where this old drywall was originally secured to this wall. And all I'm going to do is when I make this patch, I'm going to notch that out a little bit so that I can put that in there. And then the good thing about this stud being right here is I'll be able to secure the patch to the stud directly. So I'll be able to screw in that drywall into this stud. Now for the other side, my plan is, I found a neat trick online where you take a piece of wood, a small piece of wood, and it's going to be approximately this long, and I'm going to try to make it about, if I've got two different pieces of wood to work with to see which one works best, but it's going to be about 2.5, it may even be 2.5, 3 inches wide. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut that, we're going to slide that inside so we've got an overhang, and then I'm going to secure that with screws, and then when I put the patch in, I'll be able to screw in into the stud like I said, and then I'll be able to screw into this piece of wood to help support that patch. And then we'll go through, we'll sand all this down, we'll fill in the screw holes, we'll spackle in and patch this, get a nice coat on it, smooth it out, and then we'll repaint. So that's the plan for this patch. And then once I get this one done, I'll be going in and starting on the one we showed you at the beginning of the video. But that's what we're looking at. So let's get started. Hey guys, before we get started, I wanted to take a chance to show you some of the things I'm going to be using today. I told you before that when I cut this out, I eyeballed it, and I wasn't going to do it this time. So I've got a level that I'm going to be using. I'm also going to be using a little carpenter square here. I've got a jigsaw that I'm going to be using to cut the wood that I've got. I've got two different pieces. I've got a piece of it looks like 3/8 plywood, scrap plywood, and a 1/2 inch piece, maybe 5/8 inch. That might even be 3/4 inch piece of lumber, small 1x2, that I might be using to create that brace here so that we can patch that. Other than that, drywall type screws. I don't have specifically drywall screws, but I'm going to be using that. And of course, you've got a drill or a driver to screw those in. And then, of course, the spackle and a scraper or a putty knife to spread that out. And then once that's all set in and dried, of course, we'll be sanding it. So I just kind of wanted to go over the tools that we're going to be using. And that's pretty much it. Yep. All right, so let's get to it. All right, guys. We're going to get this patch piece drawn out and then cut out. And then we'll get it checked to see if it fits. Apologize for the radio noise in the background. Following my Mariners hard right now, so I want to keep up on what's going on. Playoff baseball, gotta love it. All right, so what we've got here is the piece that I took out, and this is the way you're looking at it is how it came out of the wall. You can tell by that little notch there. That's the nail head that I showed you earlier that we're gonna notch out around. Okay, but the plan is what I want to do is I want this to be as close to that as possible. So I'm actually going to take this piece, okay, and I'm going to use it to trace out, okay, and use it to trace out the pattern I'm looking for, okay. All right, that's actually close enough. Okay, so we got our pencil, and all I'm going to do is, because that latex paint held that shape of that cutout so well, we're going to take this, right? Okay. Okay, just realized, because I'm flipping this over, I'm actually getting a negative, right? A negative of the image. And while that will probably be good enough, yeah, it probably will be good enough. Let me just see if I can get what I'm looking at here. I feel like that's going to be fine, because we're going to be filling in the gaps, of course, with the spackle. Okay, so this is our template, right? And I'm actually going to put a little arrow on it. So that's up, okay? And then I'm going to put a little star over here. That's the corner we're going to have to notch, if we have to notch anything. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and we're going to see what we've got. Alright, so here's our patch. Alright, and that's what we're going to put in over there. So let's move the camera and see how it works. Alright. Let's test this patch out, see how it works. Should be pretty snug, except possibly over here where that nail head is. So So I'm going to need to shave a little bit off the top here. I really feel like that's going to be... I may take a little bit off this corner, and I think we'll fit just fine. So let's get that done. Alright guys, so we got our patch sized in. I think it's going to go in just snug enough. So I wanted to go ahead and get working on this piece here. I decided to use the thinner plywood, and what I went with is this is about 6.5 inches long, and it's 2.5 inches wide, because I want to give myself 1.25 inches on either side to work with. But the way this technique is you take a piece of wood here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna slide this inside, okay, and then we're gonna center it up. I put a center line on it just so I could see it. And as you can see, we slide this in like this. And what we're going to do is we're now going to screw this into, we're going to screw through the drywall into to secure this piece of wood, which we're going to use to mount the patch to on this side. So that's what we're going to do. All right. And that should hold, the insulation on the other side is applying enough pressure to hold that in place while I get the drill and everything out. But that's what we're looking to do. So we'll come back in just a minute. All right, guys. So I just checked how deep we've got this, and it's exactly 1.25 inches. So I know I've got 1.25 inches on this other side to work with. I decided I'm going to use 3 screws to hold this in place. I'm going to put one at the top over here, one at the bottom down here, and then I'm going to put one here to help support the center. And hopefully we'll get a good bite. I'm going to go ahead and get these started before I start putting counter pressure on the piece of wood. So all right, so now that I got those started, what I'm going to do is, it's going to be kind of hard for the camera to catch this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my hand behind this wood, and I'm just going to, keep pressure on it while I get this started. Now, of course, I'm drilling. I've got my fingers behind here, so if you're doing something like this, please be careful. Again, I'm not a professional. I use a heavy dose of common sense, okay? There we go. Try to even that up. I sunk that in pretty deep, probably deeper than I wanted to, but it's not too far. And now that that's anchored, should be easier to get these in. Alright, so this is now got a nice solid, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to drill pilot holes here for these to make sure that they go in smoothly and I'm not pushing anything out or pulling anything out, and I'll get the same thing here because I want to make this as easy a patch as possible. So let me go ahead and get that set up. Hey guys, sorry about that, I forgot to start the camera again. Anyway, forgot my drill bit, so I didn't get to drill the pilot holes. But these two went in just fine. This one went in good. Sank it a little bit more than I wanted to again. I'm going to try to avoid that here. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. So that's our patch. And that's going to be a lot sturdier than that mesh that I showed you in the other room. So now we're going to take some spackle and we're going to put it on here, fill in these holes. We're going to let those dry, and then we'll come back probably tomorrow and sand that stuff down. So let me grab that spackle. Oh. All right, guys. May not have been as prepared for this job as I'd hoped, but small tub of spackle. I use an all-purpose DAP spackling paste. My putty knife or my wall scraper is wider than the opening of the tub, so that wasn't a great idea. I should have grabbed something else. But I do have also this Drydex spackling and nail hole filler. And it comes in a tube. This is great for exactly this, like nail holes, small seams like this. I use this around the patch that's in the laundry room area. So I'm going to go ahead and put this stuff in first. And then once I know I've got these holes filled well and they've had a chance to dry, then I'll go over with the spackling paste here and we'll put that in. So let's get this in there. Trying to leave room for you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. That's really the only gap. All right. Okay. All right. Now again, this is just using the dap, and this is filling in. I mean, I really didn't have to put anything down here. This, I mean, tiny bit. When we patch this all with this is all going to be covered good. I just wanted to fill in the major gaps, cover up the screw holes, and we're set to go on that. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to go start working on the other one, and then hopefully come back. This will have turned white. Hopefully, I forget how long this stuff takes to dry. But then we'll look at putting spackle paste down. But I appreciate you guys sticking with us through this. I've only recently have I had to start doing these drywall patches. I don't really like doing them, but it's better than paying somebody else to do it. And I mean, your house is going to get wear and tear unless it's something just really crazy. You know, take care of it yourself. If it has to be done for another reason, then, you know, if it's flood damage or something like that, get a professional to do it. But anyway, thanks for sticking with us. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. And if you like the content we're putting out, just do me a favor, hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can get updated when we put new content out. Otherwise, you guys take care of yourselves, take care of others, and be safe. And we hope to see you soon. Okay, so this one we're gonna have to do a little bit differently than we did the other one, just because I'm not gonna have a nice clean, you know, block that I can trace a template out for. So I'm gonna have to use I'm gonna have to measure it and cut it out that way. That's part of the importance for using the square and the level, to make sure you get a nice square hole. I don't know if you can see it with the camera. Take a quick look here. Yeah, you can see it well. All right, so we've got the back side of this drywall has been damaged by that stuff being pushed out. So what I think I'll plan to do is, instead of running that wood brace behind this section and then screwing into that weaker spot, I think what I may end up doing instead is I may run it across the top and the bottom to do it that way. I'm not sure if there's another way I could do it. The stud is about 2.5 inches inside the left side here. I'm wondering. I mean, I guess it would be possible, but anyway, I may think of a different way to do that, but for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and get those measurements. All right, hey guys, just finished cutting out the patch and the supports for the back, and I had an idea, and I'll just telling you what my frame of thought was. I was like, it would be really great if I could get just a single piece of wood in here and back up against this to, you know, attach my drywall patch to. So I kind of measured one out, and I came out with something that was like this. Okay. And as you can see, I've taken the patch, I put it on here, I've outlined it so I can see where it's supposed to be. I even pre-drilled the holes so that when we go to put this in, it'll meet up a little bit easier. And while I had it attached, what I did is I came in and I took it and I slid the patch inside the hole, and then I pre-drilled these holes so that I can see where it's going to hit in the drywall. So that again, when I go to put these in, it wasn't trying to bore through the wood for the first time. But this was just at 6 inches, this diagonal, which is what I would need this to be able to fit through there, and then to try to wriggle up and then bring in. And that's why I have this hole here. The idea was I was going to use a finger to hold that against the wall, the inside of the wall, pull it out while I drilled the holes in. But that's just not going to work. And I don't feel good about shaving any other width off the side of this. So what I decided to do was cut it in half. Okay, so this is going to allow me to put in each side by itself and line that up. And again, I'm using the outline of the patch. I can kind of go ahead and get it where it's supposed to be. But since I've already pre-drilled these holes, I'm going to show you the trick I'm going to do. Okay. I've got my 4 screws. Oh, sorry for bumping the camera. 4 screws, 2 for each side. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and preset these 2 screws with the tips just sticking out. Okay. Okay, so those tips are just sticking out. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to be able to feel when those go in to the hole. And that way I know that's lined up. I've got the outline of the patch, so I know I can look along the inside and I can see that's where it's supposed to go. But that's just an extra way to help me make sure that I've got this where it's supposed to be. Okay, so I slide that in. I'm going to go ahead and try to line up the outline of the patch and see if I can find, there we go, I think I got the top one in there. No, not yet. There. Okay, I can feel that now. That is actually in there. Okay, so now I can hold this against, and because I've already pre-drilled the holes in the support plate, it's not giving me that much resistance. It's not trying to push the board back. I know it's really loud in here. But now you can see that that's in there. And I found that by pre-drilling these holes, like before with the other one I put 3 in because I wanted to be able to hold that board while I was trying to drill into it. Because these holes are pre-drilled, it's not going to be putting that, I'm not going to have to put that much pressure on it, so it should work. Now, the other half, this is how the other half of this works. Let's go ahead and preset, sorry. And I'm just going to, again, until I can feel that tip of the screw come out. All right. And now that that's in, I can take this and look, I can slide that in. There's enough room that I can do that. And now this is where it's going to get a little tight because I've got the other board in the way. I've got to line up that finger hole. Okay. And then I'm looking at my outlines and I'm really trying to feel and make sure I got those. Yeah, that feels good right there. There we go. Okay, I know the bottom one is in right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start it to hold it in place. Yeah. Okay. And I should be able to, if I just maintain pressure on this one should go in too. Just fine. And it is. Okay. I can feel that cinching up. Remember, I'm going to want to sink these screws in just a little bit because we're going to fill these with putty. But I don't want to go too far. I went a little too far, I felt like, on the one in the living room. I just want to go in enough where I can fill that in flat. There we go. Okay. Let me back this up a little bit and you'll be able to see what we're talking about. Okay, I'm going to move the camera. Bear with me. So you can see what I've got here is I've created a back support plate, okay? And because I've already pre-drilled these holes, now that patch, once I wedge that patch in there, that should be good, okay? Try to zoom this back in a little bit. All right. And now I'm going to go ahead and try to put the patch on, and hopefully I'll get it. It's a tight fit, so we'll see. I'm just going to be real careful pushing this in. I'm being gentle with it. It may not seem like I'm being gentle with it, but I really am. See, because it's already starting to try to push out here. And that's okay. I don't mind if it's pushing out, because once we get this screwed in and flat, okay, this is going to be puttied over and you'll hardly be able to tell at all, okay? But that's pretty, I'm kind of using a knuckle to try to do that. All right, but again, since these holes have been pre-drilled, these should go in relatively easy. Now I'm going to push the patch out. You see that? Okay. And I'm not going to sink that one in yet. See, that sinks, that patch sinks in just enough. We're going to get a nice coat of that spackle on here, and it's going to take care of it. So now I'm going to sink these in just a smidge. Okay. And these are going to be, these screws will be covered completely. So there we go. All right. Do a quick look at that. See, that really set in there good. And that's very, very solid. Okay. So that's a really good patch right there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get the spackle out. You guys have seen me do this part already. I'm going to fill in the screw head holes. I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then I'll go up front and see if the other one's ready to put the spackle on. Alright guys, we're back up front. As you can see, most of this is turned white, which means it's dry. There's still a little bit of pink. I can see like underneath a layer of white in some of these areas where it's thicker, but that should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and try to open this up. Again, my putty knife it's wider than the mouth, so I'm going to have to kind of like bits and pieces, but that's okay. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to So we got that, started that with a kind of filling in a little bit, because that patch of course is sunken in a little bit, but I want to get a layer out here on the side that I can kind of start building off of. All right, let me pause, phone's ringing. All right guys, hey, sorry, that was Mom Bear, and I continued to put this spackle on here while I was talking with her, so I didn't get that on tape. But this is just the first coat. There'll be another coat after this has had a chance to dry. But really what I wanted to do is I wanted to start to fill in those seams where the patch is, and let that stuff set up, and then before I come in and put in a second coat, I'll come in and I'll sand this down, smooth that out, take any of these ridges out, and then put on the next layer, and hopefully that will be nearly smooth. Of course, it'll get sanded again before any paint is put on. But this is what we're looking at for drywall repair. Fortunately, these weren't very big holes. There is actually a third hole here in the other property that's in the garage that's about that big by that. And I'm not going to bother filming that one. This gets the basic premise out. But it was cool to try that technique of putting a board behind, a small piece of wood to help support that. Again, I saw that online and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. Never thought I'd, come across a chance to use it, but decided to, and it definitely worked. I think what we did there in the bedroom uh, really worked well. Really worked well. It took a little bit of extra time to plan it, but it worked really well. So, drywall repair, something you can do at home? Absolutely. Um, if it's a bigger project, or again, like I said at the beginning, if this is drywall damage that's caused by something else like water or whatnot, you know what? I wouldn't bother with it too much. Um, when you get water and stuff, then you got to start thinking about the possibility of mold and whatnot. It's probably better to have a professional do it. But for small stuff like this is very common stuff. A chair gets bumped into the wall, doorknobs. Once we get that bedroom spot completely patched I'm going to actually take a piece of 1x6 and I'm going to cut a square out, and then I'm going to use a router to give it decorative edges. But then we're going to mount that to that spot so that it protects that spot from any future doorknobs hitting it. We'll replace the doorstop at the bottom, of course, to try to keep it from doing that. But at least that will be there to help protect that spot. But this is again, this was from the recliner. Not too bad. If you take your time, it's not going to be that big of a deal. You guys saw me use the jigsaw to open up that hole in the bedroom. For this one, I actually used a utility knife. Just made kind of multiple pulls across it to keep the lines as clean as possible. So you don't need any power tools to do this. You can also use like a hole saw. Got one of those out in the garage, but I just ended up using a utility knife. So we're done with this for now. Hey, again, appreciate you watching this. Again, something you can definitely do on your own. And if you mess it up, you can always sand it down and put new spackle on it until you get it to where you feel comfortable or where you feel it's right. Definitely something you can do by yourself, save yourself a little bit of money. Hope you liked the video. Please give us a thumbs up if you did, and hit that subscribe and notification bell so you can get information on our new videos that come up. We've got a lot of video projects or project videos that are in the bank right now getting produced. They've been filmed, they just need to be edited and cleaned up, and those will hopefully be coming out here pretty soon. But thank you guys for coming and checking us out. Again, Dad Bear DIY. Hit those comments up. If you got any suggestions or questions or anything, hit those comments up. We love it. Look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Take care of yourselves, take care of others, and be safe.